One.
Welcome back to another episode of Pushing Back Chaos with me, your favorite host, the only one that you all care about, I know, Melon. I'm joined by Mike. How are you, mate?
Not bad, Melon. Favorite host, you know what? You might actually be right because so if you take a look at our Instagram page, there's get to know your hosts, and there's myself, Melon, and Raph. And so far, I believe Melon somehow, it might be pity, but so far Melon has the most likes and interactions for his post or whatever. But
pity, I'll take it. I'll take pity. I'm not above it. I'm not too proud.
What is it? I'm so cocky I'm so cocky and humble that I'll tell you about it or something like that. I don't know, somewhere along those lines.
Oh God. How have you been, mate? How's your week been? I know you've been really getting after it with the training. We've had some amazing conversations offline, and I've really appreciated when you've been able to join in with our episode last week. But how are you? How's it all going? I know you don't have to tell any details, but just big picture,
Yeah, finished very, very strong, to say the least. Had a really good speed bump in the middle there, like anybody does. But great teams and great leaders come together, and your pride and your ego get checked at the door, and do a self-assessment first instead of pointing the finger. You got to point the thumb and say, what did I contribute to this problem? And everybody has to do that. And then we went around the room and we're like, okay, hey, solution time. How could we all get better? And it's one of those situations where there's no, like I said, no pride and ego, but there's no rank, and it's just professionals trying to figure out a solution to a very hard problem. And it was good. And we fixed it in our last 2 days. We came together, and I think, like I said, we rebounded and crushed it. So was hitting training hard, dude. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm not hitting anything hard. I've been sleeping all weekend and just letting the body recover. My left knee, my shoulder, my back, both of my shins are all jacked up and just tore up and cut up. And my sleep schedule's been off. So just trying to realign, my bio clock and trying to get that back in line. And yeah, it feels good, but almost too good. And getting back into the gym today and keep going.
It's so good. I just wrote that down. Instead of pointing the finger, point the thumb. Mm-hmm. I've never heard that before. I don't know if that's a common saying in your part of the woods, but I reckon that is something that is missing a lot of the time. You can come in as a leader or as a manager sometimes, and you can sometimes when there's a speed hump where there's a challenge and you've come up short, you can sometimes push a bit too much to like management speak and, start the bullshit bingo with all the catch phrases from MBAs and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes you just step past the fact that there's just the individuals all just need to step up. The individuals just all need to do a little bit better. And the only way you can get people to do a little bit better is when you're like, this person needs to do a little bit better, and giving that free space to, rather than coming in and saying, you guys need to do this.
Yeah.
It's a pretty powerful tool, when you're having a hard time. And I honestly, I think we would all prefer to be in a team that's had a hard time, has had a major adversity and has overcome it, rather than a team that's cruised through the whole season without a glitch. Because the hard time has to come, and it's better to have it and then deal with it and get it in a revision mirror, I reckon.
Sure. Or ignoring the failure and ignoring the problem, like, oh no, that didn't happen. We're good. No, we're all fine. And it's like, we're clearly not good. We're drowning.
Yeah. Sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. That doesn't work either.
No, that's great. I mean, we had a little masterclass on leadership last week, and then you've gone away and it's like a top football team, a rugby team, hockey team, whatever it is. They can be like a top team, and you're like, how come they don't win every single week? You're like, well, it's difficult. A, it's difficult, and B, there's people playing against them. The opposition also has a say in how things go, and then the bounce of the ball, right? Like you can get luck and bad luck, and the championship teams, the great teams full of great players that we all look up to in whichever sport it is, they're the ones that are able to deal with that and come together and come back better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real testament when you can go through adversity and really anything, not just work or anything, but friendships, relationships, everything like that.
Yeah.
That's the glue, that's the reinforcement is, yeah, it sucks going through it at the time. And it's just like, this may be insurmountable, but when you have the right teammates, when you have the right partner, when you have the right friends, and you can overcome it, one day you turn around and look at the long list of achievements that you've done and be like, wow, look at all that shit that we made it through, and it's kind of like reinforcing and proud to do it. So yeah, it was good. And, I think yesterday after we, you and I had that great conversation, man, that was kind of like not planned at all. It was just checking in and checking on me. And, it was Father's Day here yesterday in the US. And, by the way, that doesn't count anywhere else. Just because it's a holiday here doesn't mean Happy Father's Day in Australia, the UK, or anywhere. Like there's only one day.
It is in the UK.
Is it?
Was just, in our family, we birthdays and Christmas, and I mean, Annie loves all of them, whatever there is. Yeah, Halloween's now on the list, which is not really a big thing in Australia. But we're not really big into gift giving. It's like every day, be your best self every day. And all day yesterday, I was aware that there was some Father's Day stuff going down in the US and the UK because I saw it on my feed, and there was some really great posts from friends in the US and the UK to me, some Father's Day stuff. And my wife Cherry heard Chris and I talking right at the end of the day, and she was like, did he just say it's Father's Day? And I was like, no, I think it's in the US or the UK. She quickly got on her phone and she's like, oh, it's not in Australia. That's all right. It's a different day. I'm like, I wouldn't even know when it is.
Well, I'm sure those were good conversations that you have with some friends, and everything else is very nice of them to reach out to you.
Well, we had that. You and I just had such a great chat. We were talking and we just thought, man, let's just dive into this as a topic for a podcast. We're talking about building your circle, how important it is to get great relationships and add them into your life. And that's like, of all the things that you could have, to be able to have a really true friend who's there for you when the shit is really going down, and someone that you can call and just have a conversation with, like you and I had, where you just really talk, just really, really talk. It was really clear that, Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, all the money in the world can't buy genuine friendship from people that you just hugely respect and admire and are grateful to have in your life. And so we're just talking about this sense of the importance, the primacy of the relationships that you have in your life and how much they give you, and how important that is when you stack that up against material things.
Sure.
And I can't remember whether there was a family quote, something from Mama, someone about the most important things in life not being things.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was that's on my wall. That was my grandmother's before she passed. That was the one thing she talked to me about. Actually, the last conversation I had with her in person was exactly that. She pointed at it, and it's been hanging in her kitchen most of her life, and she pointed at it and she said, Mike, that's very true. The most important things in life are not things. And time has proven her wise, because, Melon and I were talking yesterday just about the relationship that him and I have, and then also with Raph and a bunch of other people in our circle, and what it really means. And like, you can't put a price on that, and the kind of thing that brought it up was one of my best friends is him and his wife are pregnant, And he called me just the other day. It was early in the morning, and I'm like, I'm on 2 hours of sleep and just running my ass into the ground and tired. And he's like, "Hey, you need to call me immediately." And I'm like, "Oh no." Like, I always get those text messages late at night or early in the morning, and I think it's my mom or something, something with her.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh no." So I wake up and I call him like, "Dude, what's going on?" And he's like, "Well, I came in last night from work late, and it was like 2 a.m. and I was just exhausted and my mind was everywhere. And I walked into the bathroom to take a shower, and I walk out and my wife's standing there, and she's like staring at me with these big eyes, kind of watery, and smiles real big, nervous." And I was like, "Uh-huh. What are you about to tell me?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she holds up a pregnancy test, and they're pregnant. And I was just like, "Oh my God, dude." I was so freaking ecstatic and just genuinely happy for him, man. And he's like, "Yeah, I just it was no question. It was one of the first things that came to my mind, is that uh undoubtedly I want you to be the godfather to my kid." And dude, just taking a step back and realizing that honor, uh you can't put a price on that.
No.
That's not a material thing. It's not a price tag. It's so much deeper than that. And you really brought out a lot of great points about what would it take for you to consider, hey, if something ever happened to me, then I want my son or daughter raised in a certain way with
Yeah.
values and a lifestyle or something. Not, oh, well, you're Jeff Bezos and you have billions of dollars, so yeah, I want you to raise my kid. Like, that means nothing.
Yeah. That's right. We're talking both Mike and I we've had the privilege and the honor of being best man for people. And that's very special. Like that's like in my speeches, I kept saying, yeah, I am the best man. I mean, the official title, has been dubbed on me now. But it's like, this is my best friend. This is the guy who knows me. He's known me the longest, or whatever it is. And that's a great thing. And it's a party and it's a celebration. It's a lot of fun and a huge honor. But I know that when Cherry and I were discussing about who we were going to ask to be godparents for our kids, that was like days and days of discussion. And it's a whole other level when you're talking about, this is someone that I want to be a key influence on my child, where their whole life they'll have this special relationship with their godparents. And B, we know for us anyway, there's a real part in there tied in of legacy, of like, who would I want to be involved with my children and take care of them if we were both to pass away unexpectedly? And like, if that doesn't make things come home when you're thinking about who are these people, what attributes am I looking for, then nothing will, because there's nothing more important than that feeling that descends on you when you've got a new life coming, and that's your baby, that sense of responsibility to then go to someone and ask them to be the godparent. It has so much weight and so much meaning. It's so important. And, for you to be asked by your best mate to do that, it's such a sign of who you are for him and who you are for his partner and so on, that level of trust would be given to you. And this is one of these things. You can't buy a relationship where someone would be like, in exchange for this amount of money, I'll ask you to look after my kids if I die. There's no money. There's no money. There's not a number. There's not a thing that you could give me that if I was gone, I'd want someone to look after my kids. No, 100% no. Zero. There's no number. There's things that are much more important than bank balances and objects. And that's one of them. It's, I think, the biggest thing. Who do I want to look after my kids if I was to pass? And so that's driving this topic today of like building your circle and the importance of relationships. Did you have anything else you just wanted to throw in there about that being a godfather. Again, it's not your first time, but
it just, it's very hard to, I don't know. I mean, I've talked about this before, man. It's like very hard to give myself a compliment sometimes. I don't know. Like I just feel awkward doing it. Like I talked about doing something
yeah.
nice for myself, and I end up buying like a new truck for the first time in 12 years. And it was like, oh man, but it's like, hey man, you deserved it. You work hard, like do something nice for yourself. And it did feel good. And sometimes I think we get so caught up in life and what we're doing and just kind of mundane tasks, seems like. But it's those everyday interactions, and when you do spend time with people, you don't waste it, and you really try to make quality time, because
Mm,
one thing I've learned is time is always fleeting, and you never know if this is the last time you're going to see that person or they're going to see you. And it's like, what kind of, like you said, what kind of legacy are you leaving with them? What kind of memories and,
mm,
whatever else. So it's like every time I hang out with somebody, I really want them to feel um, appreciated, special. You're not wasting your time with me. I'm not
mm,
wasting my time with you. And those are the type of people I really like in my circle. And I think just from feedback, I think people really know that about me, that I am intentional when it comes to that. And I think I do stand out from feedback. I think I do stand out in that way. So, but to really hear somebody say, I trust you with my kid that's not even here yet. I don't have kids, like I can't tell you how many kids out there call me uncle, which is very cool. I have so many nieces and nephews that really aren't even family, but everybody calls me Uncle Mike, and that alone, when I stop and think about it, is pretty special to think of me of like that. But I've never taken care of my own kid or anything like that. So just the fact that you even considered me, let alone selected me to do that in such a moment, is just like, wow, I'm about to be a father, and my best friend pops in my head first thing and be like, yeah,
mm.
he's going to be part of this kid's life, dude.
Yeah.
I got like choked up. I'm like, you bastard, you call me 2 hours of sleep and this is what you lay on me. Like I don't know if I could handle this right now.
It's pretty cool, man. It's such a special thing, and I think that strikes the heart of what we're talking about, like what these relationships do for us, and how your life is different when you have these. And I know we talked about mental health and support, and June's still the mental health month, and we want to keep flagging awareness there and normalizing conversations about it.
Yeah.
And we talked about that analogy about the tightrope walker and the community and the relationships being those support strands of the net below, and how strong are they and how many are they, and the strength of the individual relationship and the number you have is your support network, and it's going to catch you when you fall. And even just knowing it's there maybe takes away the nerves that cause you to fall. You have that confidence, you've got these great people in your life. But I've been thinking about some of the reasons that what these relationships can bring into your life. So emotional support's clearly one of them. You've got that support network that we just touched on. My second one is personal growth. So meaningful relationships with people that can gift us insights and perspectives we don't have into ways to grow and develop, to enhance or change your worldview, and getting that empathy from seeing the world through someone else's eyes. So emotional support, personal growth, collaboration and teamwork. So there is not going to be any team when there's not those individual relationships inside the team. So being able to have that level of trust and communication, the ability to work with harmony with others, having creative problem solving innovation and success, a lot of the stuff that you touched on in your leadership masterclass last week, Mike. And then like the overall well-being that descends on you when you know you've got these great people around you that help us feel that sense of fulfillment, connection, happiness increased, reduce loneliness, reduce isolation, directly addressing a lot of the causes for mental health issues in conjunction with other support and treatment if you need it. But certainly positive relationships causing a sense of belonging and that enhanced sense of life satisfaction and well-being. And then, I mean, those are 4 personal reasons. And then a 5th one being professional advancement. So relationships, they're effective in the workplace. We're able to either generate a relationship, a strategic relationship, maybe turning into a friendship, or a friendship that becomes a strategic relationship that can benefit you and cause doorways to open so that people are aware that there's someone there with your skills and your abilities, that there's someone there who can generate these positive work environment for the team. So 5 ones that I had there was emotional support, personal growth, collaboration, teamwork, your overall well-being, and then the 5th one being professional advancement. It was just some that came to mind thinking about why we want to have good relationships.
Yeah.
Did you have any insights into some of those or different ones that you thought of, maybe even just while I was talking, Mike?
Yeah, I think just maybe worded differently. I really like yours and how you look at it. It's like a personal and professional aspect, which is very important. Keys I wrote down are partnership. So, there's a relationship, that we put into there, but it's also a partnership, whether it's your best friend, whether it's a significant other, that's your partner. It's like, hey, we're joining up together to tackle what's ever in front of us and also enjoy what's ever in front of us. That it's not like one dictates the other or anything like that. It should be a shared experience and open conversation. So I put partnership, trust. The minute you start putting on somebody like, well, hey, you can't go do this because I don't fully feel okay with it, but I know it makes you happy, kind of thing. It's like, there's some trust issues there, right? And I think now if you deserve it, then you deserve it. But I think at the same time, it's just some of my best friends, some family, and everything else. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go do this, and it's just like, oh yeah, of course, like that's who you are, what you do. Like I know that's your passion, and it makes you happy, and it helps make you who you are. So yeah, go do what you need to do, and I'll be here. You know what I mean? Like that's just a trust thing, which is great. Sharing, allowing you to share your time, your energy, your life with other things and other people, your passions, like whether it's a hobby, whether it's a sport, whether it's your friends that you've known for a long time. But it's like, it's very important, like to have an understanding about sharing all of that. Like you can't cut that off. You have to be able to share. We're humans, we're emotional creatures. We're not meant to be alone. We live and thrive off connection.
A lot of the time, Mike, I reckon that holding stuff back when you're thinking, oh, I can't be my authentic self with this person, and I can't share these parts of me or these aspects.
Yeah.
That can lead to that repression, and that can really impact a relationship, and it can impact yourself. And those relationships we have where you can really bring your whole self and you can be your actual self with each other.
Sure.
They're the best ones, right? Like I know I can really tell you anything, you know what I mean? Like when we talk, like yesterday, it was just literally giving you a call, having left Simon's place just to say good day, and an hour and a half later, I couldn't even tell you what we were talking about. Just such a free flow,
Free flow. Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it, Melon, is, there's no questioning. There's no like, maybe I shouldn't say that, or maybe I shouldn't talk about that. It's literally just a feeling. It's like, man, yeah, that's a awesome point, man. I have never thought of it that way. And hey, you know what? Let's go to the next level on it, and open some stuff up. And I always feel like I walk away just wiser, just more at peace, less cluttered, like have better understanding about my life or what's going on. And, it's so beneficial to have those types of conversations and to have that with you or Raf or, whatever. It's like, again, there's no price tag, dude. I'm not paying you to talk to me for an hour and a half, like a psychiatrist or something like that. We're literally just two mates having a good conversation and walking away feeling better about ourselves and about life. It's great.
Yeah.
The other three I had were empowerment. So having people that empower you to do things, not to make you feel small or to make you feel not good enough or anything, but literally empowering you to take control of your decisions, your own life, and what you're doing and what you want and what makes you happy and everything. While the other one is encouragement, always encouraging you to be better.
Yeah.
It's always sometimes people encourage you to do nothing because you're overworked, you're exhausted, you're tired, and it's very clearly seen. But some people might be like, hey, I'm encouraging you to like take a break, take a knee, relax. You need that as well. You need people to tell you instead of just like, hey, shut up and work harder, every single day. Great. Right. And there's total benefits to that. But at the same time, if you don't take a knee sometimes and reassess and take a look around you and look what you're doing, you are gonna have failures in other places, and it's important for people to let you know that.
Encouragement has got really, like, there's a key element in it that's different than other words that you've used here, and it's got like a real big slice of kindness where there's like, you want the best for the other person. It's not like you're like, I want them to crush the thing and have massive success and stuff. It's like, there's like an interest in the other person and how do they feel and how are things going for them. And like Cherry said this to me, like, this is now, I think the level our relationship is at, that I think both of us now are prizing like kindness over every other way of describing the connection that we have. And like kindness is number one. So I think that's fascinating. You've included encouragement now. I reckon that's a fantastic word, Mike.
Yeah. Well, just keep encouraging me to use encouragement, and I will. And then the last one is honesty. Man, I can't tell you how nice it is to hear the truth once in a while, and it's the truth that I need to hear versus what I want to hear. And that's very key because so many times where, say I'm in a bad situation, I'm feeling bad for myself or the situation, whatever it is, and I'm usually pointing the finger, and it's usually one of you guys, you or Raf or, Pat or Tony Sr. or somebody that like just grabs a hold of me and they're like, look, and it's usually something like this. Hey, I love you like a brother. Hey, I love you like a son. You know that, right? But listen. And then they proceed to tell me why I'm like fucked up. I mean, you know what I mean? Because it's me. And it's great. It's great. Yeah. And it's just like, damn, okay, you're right. Damn, you are right. But I don't get mad,
It's another one you can't buy, right? You cannot buy a relationship with Tony Sr., who will sit you down and tell you honestly where you're having some deficiencies and things that you need to do to get better.
Right. Yeah. There's, that guy, just to speak on him, ever since my dad died, Tony Sr.'s kind of stepped in for a lot of different roles and reasons into my life and trying to be that father figure and give me a guidance. And I truly do feel like a son to him, the way he speaks to me, and he'll call me sometimes. We'll talk for 2-3 hours about life and what's going on and everything else. And, I texted him yesterday for Father's Day, just said, hey, I just want to let you know, like, happy Father's Day. And I reflected on how he's kind of been that for me, but he doesn't have to do that. He's got 3 kids, he's got grandchildren, to deal with and everything else that he's doing in his life. And, I live multiple states away, but he takes the time to like check on me and encourage me and see how I'm doing. And, he wants the best for me. And he's been to every one of my promotions. He's been to every going away party, coming home from deployment party. Like he's there, and he's present, and he gets teared up, and he always has a huge hug for me, tells me he loves me. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have to do that. And there's nothing I could do to ask for that. It's just how I am with him and he is with me. And I'm just so grateful and appreciative of it. That's just one example.
So good, mate. Shout out to Tony Senior. We've done a few episodes with him, and they've all been great.
Yeah.
So did you have other elements there around the relationship itself? You had some great points here. I'll just recap them: partnership, trust, sharing, free flow. I added empowerment, encouragement, and honesty.
I think those are kind of the basis of a relationship, partnership, friendship, whatever you want to call it, man. I mean, we could sit here and really dig down and deep into each one, probably a whole episode on each, but it's just the feeling, really. Like you can't get into a room and sit across from someone with a checklist and just start, looking at them and be like, oh, no, okay, you're not compassionate. Oh, okay, and you just write somebody off for it. It takes time. It takes uncomfortableness. Like there's great times, sure, man. Like enjoy them with the good people, but in the really hard times when you're backed up against the wall, tucked in a corner, and you don't know what to do, I mean, that's when real people show their colors and like what's coming out and who you can talk to, who you can trust, and what are they telling you to do in those moments. Like again, Tony Sr. is like, oh, hey, life is shit. Well, here, crack a beer, like crack another one. You know what I mean? Like this will help you, bro. Like that's the last person I want in my life just telling me to, drink my problems away. Like, oh, that's the cool, easy button. Dude, my entire life has never been the easy button. And I don't say that in a cocky way that, that's how I live my life. I've just had to work for absolutely everything I've had. My parents both worked and tried to give me the best life that they could. And I'm so appreciative of the things that they did and the values that they taught me and respect and, growing up and, having to work for my first car, leaving home to join the military at a young age and opening myself up into that world and going off, when most people are in college, I'm filling out my will, because I might not come back. Yeah. I mean, it's just the amount of stuff that's gone on and everything else that I've done. It's just, I've had to work for absolutely everything that I've had. And it's taught me so many lessons about honor and respect and gratitude for everything. And when I can have those people around me that understand that they're not encouraging me to push the easy button, it's just more meaningful because they get it. They understand of like, yeah, there is no easy button for this, and call it what it is. And they be honest with you. And not only do they call it what it is, but then most of the time they're like, oh, and by the way, I'll help you through this, or I'll give you some guidance. And it's legit, honest, like things that empower you, encourage you, and you have to still put in the work. Don't get me wrong. I had to put in the work, but I had great people in my life that helped, I don't want to say safety net, but they helped put those pieces together for me in that vision when I was blind.
So, yeah. What is it they say? You can't get someone else to do your push-ups for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I heard that. I mean, I never,
I really like that saying. Not that I like doing push-ups. There's an interesting thing, Mike, in like a lot of the teams, the military teams, sporting teams, and friendships, my marriage. It's a really interesting thing. Like no one would willingly choose to have these hard times. You're saying you've never chosen an easy button. And like, to be honest, I don't think I know anyone who has. I don't think that those people have really fulfilling and wholesome lives. Like I think there's something that comes to all of us, like these relationships we're talking about, building your circle and having great people around you and great relationships. There's something about having a shared hard time. I think it's like a key facet of any relationship that is going to be generating these, these words like trust, sharing, empowerment, encouragement, honesty, some of the other things that I said. And the military is huge on it, that whole collective suffering, hard times that you get through. And those people are like your people, and there's something about having gone through stuff when the chips are down, genuinely hard times. Those people have got your back. So I was just sort of thinking that would be the next level of what we're talking about here, about how do these shared hard times build the relationship? Like, how can going through things with people, rather than, everyone's plate's full, no one has spare time, but when someone's firing a flare or reaching out a hand to you, or you're the one reaching out a hand to someone else asking for help, how that can really cause that relationship to flourish. And there's elements around trust, increased trust, like I'm trusting this person, I'm asking for help, or they're trusting me, asking for help. There's going to cause that trust to flourish. There's going to be increased understanding and empathy between the two people, or the team, having had that shared suffering and pressure come down and been able to endure and deliver together, that you're going to have an insight into these other people and their backstory and their emotions and what they're really like, what their resilience is like. The third one being that teamwork and collaboration again. None of us can ever get through these things on our own. And whether that teamwork is in a marriage or in a family or in a friendship, a sporting team, a work team, a combat team like yours, Mike, that pulling your strengths, being aware of where your weaknesses are and being able to offset them with the other person's strengths. Like in my marriage, it might shock people. There's one super, super organized person who's like just an admin demon. And then there's me. And it's like, don't fight it. Let's just everybody recognize what our strengths are and be like big enough to say, hey, there are areas here where you're better at these things than I am. And when it comes to fun, come to me. I'm your friend. But if you want stuff organized, Ches is the one to knock on the door. So teamwork and collaboration, and then enhanced communication. I know that when Cherry and I went through our period and then neonatal unit with Annie, our 173 days, when Annie was super prem, we just had to learn whole new ways to communicate. And, I've heard it said that the relationship only exists in the communication, and those hard times, you just have to be able to get stuff out, get your concerns out, get your emotions out, get into that problem-solving state, get into the strategies, coping strategies. So that's the communication piece. And the last one is that these shared hard times will cause resilience. They will generate growth. They'll be, that pressure sometimes needed to transform a coal to a diamond, that old cliche. But there's opportunities for learning and stuff that can occur and that will only occur. You're only going to figure out how to be the best version of yourself that you need to be to solve this problem when you're doing it in a team under pressure. So I had a couple of points there that it was trust, empathy and understanding, teamwork and collaboration, the enhanced communication, and then resilience and growth as being 5 ways that under a shared tough experience, like military training, like serious health challenge inside a family, like dealing with teenagers, could be many things, on how you can, on why those things help develop the relationships. Did you have any insights there? I know I'm throwing it on you, but you definitely are someone who's got so much experience, Mike, in this exact thing, the pressure and the hard time, and coming through with a relationship on the other side that is stronger and more life-giving, and with stronger bonds and everything on the other side. Have you got any insights there into how these things can help cause these relationships to flourish, or ways you've seen those things flourish in your experiences?
Yeah, there's a lot of things going, man. All great points. I really like those five. And thing that popped in was, it's really not a surprise in certain environments that certain things are just reinforced and that they're so strong afterwards. Military training. Okay, we'll keep it right there. You already said it. You get beat together. You get smoked together. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason for it. Is like, hey, if one person pays, we all pay, because we're all going to be on the battlefield together. We're all going to be in the suck together. And we got to pull each other out, and that gets reinforced every damn day. And everything that you do is like, you will be there. And, sitting here, think about it, man, it's physically, it's combat related, all that stuff. And look at the brotherhood of the sisterhood that comes from that training. It's so damn strong that you have to admire it. But what lacks there, and what, analytically, look at the numbers out there of mental health problems and what's going on in relationships. So basically what I get from it is, we could be really great teammates. We could be phenomenal teammates when it comes to war. Hey, you want me to go breach a door with you? Dude, I'll be your number two. Do you want to jump out of a plane? Yeah, hey, dude, I'm right there next to you. Whatever it is. Oh, you're in a gunfight? Guess what? I'm in the gunfight. No question. Why is it so damn hard that we can step back and we're going, hey, man, I'm having the shit day of my life because I don't know what to do with my significant other or my children or this, that, whatever. And someone's like, oh, bro, hey, fucking come out to the bar tonight, like, let's tie one on, bro. It's like, there's no connection there. And it's very simple. We don't practice it enough. You rehearse for war. Guess what? You're going to be very good at war. You're going to be very good at combat. You're going to be really good in that combative mindset and being a warrior. Great. But as we've discussed many other episodes, being a tender warrior, you also need to talk about the other things, and you need to practice them and train to them. Like I just had this conversation with Melon yesterday, and I'll open up about it a little bit. I'm not ashamed of it because it's just, I live with it. It's who I am. But, I told Melon, I said, sometimes I struggle with like being alone and wonder if I am ever going to have like a wife again or children of my own. And it really bothers me. But at the same time, I remember a long time ago when I stepped into this job, this lifestyle, it's a warrior's life. And it's one of meaningfulness and sacrifice. And I said, Melon, sometimes I go back and forth, but it passes through my mind about, I always say that I don't have things, or I've never won anything, or that I feel bad for myself sometimes when I'm on the road and I'm training so much and I see everybody else out having a great time on their boat or Memorial Day weekend or having a barbecue. It's like, oh, I'm getting to go have fun and enjoying all these meaningful times, and I'm just grinding my ass away. And it sucks. I mean, I'm just sitting there just like, fuck. I want to be out on a boat with my family too. Damn it. I want to have some barbecue. I want to be throwing water balloons at my nephews and smack them in the face. Like I wanted to be doing that all too. And instead it's a text message home saying, hey, I'm sorry I can't be there. Hey, I'm sorry I missed this event again. Hey, I'm sorry I missed the birthday. Hey, I'm sorry this. And, I go to the thought is maybe that's my role. Maybe that's my purpose, is giving up all of that so that other people can have it. And these people in my life that I know are doing that, make it a point to reach out to me. And, like I said, I have hard times. Those are the people that make it known that, Mike, if it wasn't for guys like yourself and your teammates doing what you're doing all the time, then we couldn't do this. And I just want you to know we're grateful for you. Having those types of conversations, man, open up so many other things that become naturalized, like our conversation, Melon, about this yesterday. And And it's training to it. You know, if you constantly train and expose yourself to hard training, no matter whether it's emotional, physical, whatever, it becomes routine and it becomes a second part of your life, and it just flows, and it's a balance. And you know, and it just changes your perspective on life and what you have and what you're doing. And you know, I told Melon, I said, dude, what were we talking about? Something about a lottery. You know, it's just like, oh man, like, what if you got something by lottery? And it's just like, is it really that worth it, or doing whatever? And I told him laughingly, I was like, dude, I've never won anything in my life. You know, like I've put in raffle tickets for things that I've really wanted, or a contest, and I've never won. I've just never won. Like, I don't know if I'm just the worst luck ever, but I've never won anything. And then as we were talking, and I was like, dude, but how wrong am I? Because I've won friendships. I've won respect. I've won the trust of
Mm,
others. I've won at some points in my life the love of a woman. Like, I have won. I won my dream job, you know, and that I'm still
mm,
doing. How many people can say they're doing their dream job and continue to do it for, you know, 16, almost 17 years? It's like, I've won a lot. And like, why am I
mm.
comparing to this other shit that has a price tag when this stuff is priceless? You know, it was just a great conversation, man. And just, you know, some of my points right there were, you know, that was what Melon and I talk about, dude. It's just not on the show or anything. That's just how we talk sometimes. And it's very meaningful to me. Changes my life every day.
I remember that there was a quote it was attributed to Chris Kyle, the subject of the movie American Sniper, talking about that there's three types of people, that there's sheep and there's wolves. And the wolves are the evil people, the bad people try and take advantage and hurt the sheep. But there's that third group, which are the sheepdogs, the wolfhounds. They've got to get out there and they've got to be bigger and stronger and tougher and more professional and all the rest of it than the wolves, and that they keep society inside that safe space, you know, and that's so many of our listeners, the first responders, the thin blue line of the police force, the paramedics, and clearly all the military people that are providing the space that allows community to flourish, that allows to have spaces where we have Father's Day and have those barbecues and so on that you're talking about.
Hmm.
And it's such an honourable thing that you do, you and so many other people out there, that listeners, and to be the people who are providing the space for families to occur, for this Western liberal democracy, this life that we live, where we get to choose the leaders. It's not the strongest guy with the biggest axe who's taking everything from everyone and telling everyone what to do. No, we get to choose who the leaders are. And if we don't like them, we get rid of them. I mean, what a crazy idea that is. And we need people like you out there doing what you do for us, mate. And honestly, I speak for our community. I know I speak for my family when I thank you for what you do and what you give up, and for your busted up knees and your jacked up back and everything else, and all the time and all the sacrifice. And, you know, I'm making light of it, but, you know, it's really from the heart. It's a really big deal. And I want everyone listening, because there's a lot of people who are family members of veterans and serving military and first responders, to really take that on board and to just reach out and thank the people around them who are making sacrifices for the rest of us. And, you know, I really appreciate what you do, man. And it's a very special thing. And I know that there's people in your life who really let you know, with little babies, like the amazing home camps and those people.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just amazing people that never seem to let me down when it comes to stuff when I need it the most, you know. And I think that's another part of the conversation that we went into, man, is, you know, accepting now versus accepting a unforeseen future. And I know we
Yeah.
talked about that, you know, and, you know, basically what I just talked about was my reality, like where I'm at in my life right now, and not having a family, but going away for all this time and sacrificing and just being away and missing so much stuff. I mean, like, Yeah, dude, it takes a toll on me. Like I said, I want to be out in the water and having a good time at a barbecue and a birthday and seeing little babies born and weddings and everything else. Like, dude, I want that more than anything, but I still have this commitment that I want to do for the future. I'm, you try to accept the now for what it is,
Yeah.
and it may not be what you want right now, but you have to acknowledge, like, this is where I'm at and this is my reality and what I'm doing. And, one of the conversations, I'll flip it over to Melon there, is like, they're talking about moving back to Australia and moving back to Melbourne and building a house and everything like that. And of course, it's like great future plans and an endeavor. And it's taken a while just because of the way the economy's going and everything's raising prices and, nuts. And, in our conversation, Melon, you were saying it's just like, I want this house pretty bad. I've been saving for it. I've been planning for it and all this other stuff. And I asked him, I said, yeah, but what if it's not meant to be that way? What if it's meant for something else? And then like, what's really important to you? No matter what happens with this, like what's the most important thing, Melon? And what did you tell me?
It's so clear, Mike, that all these things, this whole conversation around relationships versus things and these intangibles that you can't buy versus material or money or whatever. And, like we've been out here for a reason. I'm trying to provide for my family and especially my daughter with a vision impairment. That's something that I've taken super seriously right from the very beginning when she was born. But it's super clear to me that I could take everything I've scraped and saved and grafted. And I'm like you, when my dad passed away, there wasn't any money, man. Like we weren't poor. We ate. Somehow my mum kept our body and souls connected and a roof over our head. But it was tough. It was a very tough. There wasn't any excess. And so when I get to where I am now, and I just think I've worked for a long time to provide for my family, I think this is not the most important thing. I could take all of this down to zero. And with my, skills and my experience and my character, I could earn enough money to put a roof over my family's head for the rest of their lives. I could put food on the table and I could pay the bills and pay taxes. And the most important things in my life being those kids and my wife and our relationship with each other. And I'm not just talking about like the base level of survival, protection, safety, water, and food. I mean, like all of Maslow's hierarchy, education and self-esteem, all the way to self-actualization of my kids. I can provide that, and I don't need to have material goods to do it. Now, it's going to be a different outcome that I can provide if I can be in a position where I have assets behind me. It's a different life. But the things that are most important to me, the things that I value the most, are totally safe from external threats because none of this matters. Like none of it matters as long as my family are okay.
There it is.
As long as my kids are okay, as long as my wife is okay, I can deal with anything, and we can all deal with all the challenges in life.
It really says a lot, and let's all take a step back here and think about that. We have say we have a very rich material life, right? And everything's going great. You're out on the boat every weekend and you're just living a life and everything's fun and games, whatever, which is great. Hey, live your life. I'm not saying that, but then one of your children gets sick or your parents get sick or something significantly happens outside of your control where it's a detriment to an important person in your life or to that relationship. Everything changes. Everything.
Yeah.
And Melon, shared with me, I asked him on Father's Day, I was like, hey, what is it like being a dad on Father's Day? Like it's one of those things I just love seeing, when fathers light up and their kids are crawling all over them. And, I sent some pictures from my teammates to Melon. I was like, dude, how cool is this? And it's just like, we just got off the road and surrounded by children and playing and laughing with daddy. And I mean, it warms my heart. It really does to like see that. And, I was like, Melon, what's it like? And he's just, talking about it. And, it was just some great lessons within there about being, it's that relationship. It's being there, it's being present. And like you said, there's nothing there's nothing there that could persuade you otherwise than just having that person in your life. There's no amount of money, um there's no job or anything else. And it's just how many times have you heard people of like, yeah, I had the dream job of my life lined up, but my kid was sick, or my mother was sick and I had to move and take care of her, because that's what truly matters. And at the end of
Mm.
the end of your life, you're not sitting there thinking like, well, I'm glad that I took that job and I let that person, fade away, or that I didn't
Mm.
spend the quality time I should have with them, or I didn't appreciate them while they were around, or this, that, whatever. But hey, I made a few extra bucks, or hey, I got some fame out of it, whatever, which fades really quick. Like no one gives a shit, it's ultimately. And man, it just really brings you down to earth when you hear stories like that. And listening to Melon yesterday talking about how he views Michael and Annie, and he really, just to sum it up, he was like, I don't really care what happens as long as the four of us are together. And I know that to be true because of his character and who he is and his values, and I know how hard he's willing to work for them and what he's willing to sacrifice for them. Would you tell me, Melon, love and what?
So it was my wife Cherry's grandfather. He was a great man. He was a professor of mathematics and Korean War artillery officer. Just a great man. He was like my dad. He's one of the very few men that I really, really look up to as a mentor, and as a man of very strong faith as well. He said that suffering, you take suffering and you add love, it's transformed into sacrifice. And that we can endure anything when it's a sacrifice. When there's the presence of love there, the suffering is transformed. And the context was the nuclear rods that I've got inside me that can drive me to. I can honestly, I really feel like I'm unstoppable when I know that I'm doing something for my children, and I know that people think like this about their own families. I think this is the human experience. Actually, this is the reason why we have electricity and walls and roads and stuff, is because parents, mums and dads, have just achieved miracles to make life a little bit better for their kids. And that's certainly how I feel. And it's that sense of, you can carry any load, you can endure the suffering when you know that there's love attached to it, and you got that sense that there's a sacrifice that's worthwhile, it's meaningful.
Well said. Very well said. I think right before we hit the record button, it's just like asking for certain things in our life, maybe without putting the work in, or without having the understanding of it. But we know we want it. We're sitting here talking about recognizing our present, the people that are in it, the relationships that we have, being grateful and appreciative of those conversations and what we have, versus, well, yeah, it's great and everything, but it's not what I want for my future. When in relation to it, you might have everything you want right now if you take a step back and look at it. Like, you ask different people at different times in their life, man, and it's going to be like talking to completely different human beings. You talk to a young 18-year-old person that's healthy and got their whole life ahead of them and everything else, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm Superman, I can do anything, nothing will ever hurt me, I'm fine. And then you ask an 80-year-old person that can barely walk and that has health issues, and they're just like, oh, I'm able to get up and walk around and just pick up my grandchildren. Like, I'm completely free, like I'm still grateful, versus like all this other crazy stuff going on. And it just changes perspective about how that works, and whatever. But something, I listen to Mike Tyson once in a while. You just want to talk about a freaking transformation of a human being.
I know, Mike Tyson from the 80s and 90s was all jacked up on every substance known to man and going to prison. I was just a terrifying human. And now we've got this like philosopher poet with his still funny sort of high pitched voice and just the wisdom that that guy has got on the other side of just. I really feel like he finally conquered his biggest foe, and it was himself.
Yes. Yeah. And I really like how he speaks about, he was a boxer, he was a warrior, he was a badass son of a bitch, man. That was just like, I mean, he was a mean person. And now you hear him talk, he won almost all of his fights. He was a feared fighter and he knew it. And he was very cocky about it. And that's how he lived his life. He very openly comes out now and says, yeah, I won those fights, but life ultimately beat the shit out of me and humbled him. I mean, I don't know how many listeners out there really know about Mike Tyson's story, but he had drugs to deal with. He had people that stole from him, that got really close, acted like they were friends, and then just abused him. His daughter was killed. I think she was hit by a car or something like that. And then he had to deal with that pain, and everything else, and now he's just openly admits, he's like, people liked me and, gave me respect because they feared me, not because they loved me. And he's like, I never want to be that man again. And I never want to have that man come out again because I know how bad he will really be. And I really like the quote that he said, sometimes God gives you exactly what you want to see if you can handle it. And damn, we all think we know what we want when we want it. And really, if you were given it right now, do you think you'd be able to handle it? Do you really think you'd be able to fully understand it, appreciate it, be grateful for it? No struggle, right? Are you really going to be appreciative and grateful for something if there's been no struggle, if there's been no attempt to achieve it, versus just, oh yeah, hey, you woke up today, here's a brand new car, or, oh, hey, here you go, here's a family, you ain't got to worry about anything. You don't need to know anything about communication, relationships, trust, love, or anything. But yeah, here's a family, yeah, here's a couple kids, throw them out there at your convenience. It's crazy how life will just humble you.
Such good points, Mike. I really appreciate you taking the time, given what you've been going through in the last little period, to make the time for us and for our audience. And I really appreciate all of our listeners spending the time with us and taking the time to think about stuff that's important in life. And this topic of building your circle and having intention around relationships, I really feel like the quality of your life can be determined by the quality of the relationships and the people you have around you. And I really hope we've been able to lay out a few ways to build these relationships and what's important about them and why shared times are, such a common training tool used by every organization, especially the military, to bring teams together. And remember, it's the June Mental Health Month. There's people out there doing it tough, and there are relationship strands that we can all look at and be like, you know what? I can just send a text, I can make a call, I can try and strengthen that connection there, reel someone in. I can be a support net for other people. I can help build my own support net. So to that end, we encourage you guys to share the podcast out, send it to someone who needs to hear it. Leave us a review, send us questions. We love getting the questions in from you guys. And just before we wind up, was there anything else you wanted to leave the listeners with, Mike, just before we wind up this week?
Oh, always this point, man. There's so many things after conversations like this that just flood me, but it's good, dude. It's good. It's the start of my day. I have a couple errands to go run. And honestly, I'm just going to enjoy the evening before I go back to work and, take time. I'm already reflecting on the future about what I want to do. I might go home for a few days to Pennsylvania. And I have a vision of floating down a river on a kayak and just being peace and quiet in nature and just, man, like seriously, that's like my heaven right now thinking about it. But no, I really like these discussions about real friendships, real relationships, what really matters in life, because there's something new every day that just pops up, and it's just like, oh, another stressor. Oh, I got to do this. Oh man, this sucks. Oh, great, more traveling. Oh, great, more getting the shit beat out of me. And it's just going about it. But the focus goes there just because of the requirement of it. But at the same time, man, it's just important for all of us to stop and like really think about today and where we're at, what we truly have, who's in it, why they're in it, who they really are as people. Like, I really know who Melon is. I really know who Raph is. And a bunch of other my very close friends. I really know who they are in their soul, and I know what they're in my life for, and I'm just grateful for them. And I just would encourage all of you out there to take 1 minute, one stinking minute of your time, and message somebody. Just say, hey, I just thinking of you, say thank you, or I just want to let you know, like, I appreciate you and everything you did, or tell someone you love them. Just little things.
Yeah.
It's important, and we're all struggling. We're all trying to figure out something, but little act of kindness maybe today, and just remind each
Yeah.
other that, hey, you mean something to me.
There you go, Ron. Mike's laid down the challenge. If you think of someone, take 30 seconds and just send them a message, let them know you love them. That's all you need to do. Well, thanks. And until next week, take care. And I hope you guys have a great week.